Hello YouTube and good afternoon. My name is Brandon Marvin, your host, owner, and operator here at Marvin's Militaria Antiques and Collectibles. And today we're going to talk about the Lady Columbia Wounded in Action and Killed in Action certificates given out during the First World War. Originally designed by Edwin H. Blashfield in 1919 under President Woodrow Wilson's orders, it was given in lieu of the later designed Purple Heart Medal in 1932. Blashfield had many famous notable works during the time to include murals of the Library of Congress, the obverse design of the 1896 $2 bill, and many patriotic or Liberty Loan posters during the First World War. It's officially titled Lady Columbia Gives Her Son the Accolade of New Chivalry of Humanity. The design depicts Lady Columbia knighting a kneeling soldier presented in front of the American flag and army of patriotic soldiers, presumably that of those who had fallen into battle. There are 3 official variations of their certificate to include 2 killed in action versions, one his and one hers, and one wounded in action. Criteria for killed in action was anyone who died in service of our country, both foreign and domestic. And the criteria for anyone to receive the Wounded in Action certificate was anyone wounded in battle by the enemy and was hospitalized, to include gas attacks, bullets, artillery, or shrapnel. The certificates were given in 1919 to both servicemen and women or the next of kin family members if they were killed in action. The certificates originally were issued in a paper cardstock and sent in a rolled tube container to both the individual or family members, and it was then up to them to either cut it down and frame it or to leave it as is. Unfortunately, I do not have one of the original cardboard tubes, as they're very, very hard to find. And these examples here have been framed by either the service member or family members themselves. There's a variety of different ways that you see people framing these. Most notably, people tend to trim them down to the actual image themselves. Here we are going to take a closer look in detail of these certificates. As stated before, Lady Columbia gives to her son the accolade of the New Chivalry of Humanity. Down below, you would have your company information, your organization information, and the individual this is being awarded to. This specific example is a killed in action, so it said served with honor in the World War and died in service of his country, and that's signed by Woodrow Wilson. Down in the bottom right corner of the shield, you can see Blashfield's signature and date of 1919 lithographed inside this photo. And then over here, we're going to expand to this example. This one's a little bit different. We're going to zoom in on the details up here where it has sons instead of son. And then down below, this is a very rare example of a killed in action nurse. This particular example, I have tons of information on and we'll be posting a story of her service. But as you can see here in the bottom right corner, instead of his, it's been changed to her country. Died in service of her country. So this is a very rare example, not often seen, as there was only about 137 nurses killed in action during the First World War. I do not know, unfortunately, the numbers of wounded in action nurses, but they are just as hard to find. And then we'll scoot on over to the Wounded in Action certificate. Again, it has the veterans' information, their company information, and the organization they were with, and said served with honor in the World War and was wounded in action. And again, these certificates were given to individuals either wounded or killed in action during the war. What you would also see, depending on the service member, is a wound stripe on their sleeve, depending on, again, the organization they were with. So these were given instead of the Purple Heart, which came out in 1932, and is something that you kind of see during the First World War only, as it really is the Army's first time actually noting those killed in action and wounded in action and honoring them with something other than just maybe a letter or somewhere along those lines. So if you enjoyed this video and learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and tell your friends about it. Hopefully we can do some more videos here soon to give you some new insight and look at different things that you would see in military service from the First and Second World War. Thank you again. I am your host, Brandon Marvin, and wishing you a wonderful evening and taking it easy.